Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Move Plus. Hope you're all keeping well out there. For the warm-up guys, we're gonna start things off with 1 minute of cardio of your choice. You can pick what you wanna do there. We're gonna go with jumping jacks, so just a nice old school, straightforward movement. We do that for 60 seconds. The next 4 minutes are gonna comprise of 30 skips, 20 shoulder taps, 10 tuck-ups. So skips, we're gonna go just the normal single unders till we hit 30. Then we have shoulder taps, which is gonna be in a push-up position. Okay, from there, and then we go into 10 tuck-ups. So this is gonna be in kind of a V-sit position, coming up, tucking those knees up towards the chest. So that will be on repeat for those 4 minutes. You good to go, Em? All right, starting in 10. So 1 minute of cardio of your choice up first. We are going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So with this movement, guys, we're gonna see the feet jumping in and out, staying nice and springy on the balls of the feet, so should be very little, if any, heel contact on the floor. And then we're going arms, a nice wide swing up to overhead, so they should basically contact your thighs or your hips at the bottom, and then touch hands at the top. This is a good one because it's nice and straightforward. It's a good one to do straight out of the gates just to loosen the body up, get everything moving. So in about 30 seconds, we're gonna move to that next section, which is 4 minutes. As many rounds as you can fit in of 30 skips, 20 shoulder taps, and 10 tuck-ups. Okay, 10 more seconds. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So we're into the skips now. So grabbing your skipping rope, guys, we're going 30 reps. So looking at nice open hips, nice tall posture, feet nice and close there. I'm gonna see fairly minimal movement at sort of elbows, knees, just a little bit of kind of softening, a little bit of flick at the elbow, but not too much. Once you're done with that, we're gonna move into those shoulder taps. So setting up either on the knees like Em's doing there, or if you want to, you can go right up on the toes. That's the slightly harder version. But what we're gonna look at doing is bringing the hand to opposite shoulder, or if you can go hand to same shoulder if you want to. The main challenge with this one is trying to keep the body centered in the middle, so that requires us to really brace, keep the abs, the glutes, everything around the hips and the midsection there nice and tight. Once we hit 20, we're gonna move onto those tuck-ups. So we're gonna see Em start on kind of the top of her butt, with the legs tucked up, upper body up off the ground, and then she's basically gonna lay out almost to kind of like a hollow position, just with the arms forward, and then as she comes up, she's gonna reach towards the feet. You can touch the feet if you want to mark her, or she's sort of going to the shins there, anything like that's cool. And that's 1 full round, so we're gonna continue to cycle that until we get to the 5-minute marker. So if we look at Em's hands, right, even though there's a little bit of movement at it, there's not big movements, right? She's not doing big shoulder circles. She's not doing really dramatic big bicep curl sort of motions like that. It's just a little flick on the spot. So they stay almost close to static. It's just this tiny little whip of the hands, and that keeps it nice and efficient. Now what you want to think about with this movement, guys, is slowing things down. Obviously you go from the skips, which are going to be pretty straightforward, pretty fast. We did the jumping jacks before. That's pretty straightforward, pretty fast. This works well when we do it a little slower. So it's nice and controlled. Gives us time to establish a balance point when we take the hand off the ground, because obviously we take one of those points of contact away, we want to tip over. So we're going to fight against that using our trunk and our midsection strength. So we've got about 90 seconds to go. Back on those tuck-ups now. Notice she keeps the feet tight together and has the toes pointed. So just going for that nice solid gymnastics position when she hits the reach. And it's really just her low back that's going to touch down at the base of that movement. She doesn't need to set her shoulders to the ground. So she should be able to get 1 more round out, or close to it. 1 minute to go. into the shoulder taps. Now right now, Em has her hands about shoulder width. The knees are about the same, maybe sort of slightly between like hips width and shoulder width. If you're going out on the toes, guys, that's that harder version. You can play around with a wider stance if you want to create a little bit more stability, or narrower stance if you want to make it really, really hard for yourself. The main thing is that those hips aren't swaying right to left. We're going to try and keep them really solid in the middle. Nice, got about 20 seconds left. See if we can get these 10 tuck-ups done. Ten seconds. 3, 2, 1, and done. All right, so that is the warm-up done, guys. Grab a drink, have a little bit of a chill, and then we're gonna have a look at MOV next. All right, so we're checking out the MOV workout now, guys. This one is 12 minutes. We have a similar kind of format to build, and that's an EMOM setup. We're gonna be working for 45 seconds, resting for 15. And there are 4 stations we're gonna cycle through. So the first one, you have a little bit of a choice of your own, choose your own adventure kind of deal with your cardio choice. We're gonna go with plate ground overhead for hours, so you can feel free to do the same as us or do your own thing. So just going from ground up to lockout. The second minute we have sit-throughs. So we are going to set ourselves up, push up position, step, sit through, and then back again. Okay, so that's going to be the next minute. The following minute is going to be double unders. So we're going to grab our skipping rope. So it's a double rope pass as opposed to a single rope pass. And then the last minute there is going to be what we call a skull crusher or a dumbbell tricep extension. So this can be done either standing or laying down like Emma's going to demo now. So bending the arms and then pressing back up to extension there. So 12 minutes on this. Emma, you good to go? All right, starting in 10. Remember, cardio of choice at the start, guys. This is your choose your own adventure part of the workout. You can decide which one you're going to do. And go for it. So if you are doing the same movement as us, guys, plate ground to overhead, it is deliberately very, very light. Remember, we said this is a cardio station. It's not a strength station, so don't be going and grabbing a gigantic, big, heavy plate, something that's going to really slow you down and bog you down in the workout. We've got a 10-pound plate, so this is more about the movement being difficult and getting Em's heart rate up than the actual weight of it. The plate is just there, so she's got something to hang on to and just add a little bit of spice to it. As she goes through this, she's going to keep her back nice and straight, so it's a hinging position, a little bit of knee bend through the bottom there, and then up to a nice strong lockout at the top. Good, 3, 2, and resting. So 15-second rest here, guys. We move to the sit-throughs next. Three, 2, 1, and go for it. So with this movement, guys, if you are new to it or maybe you haven't done it much before, it does take some balance, it does take some coordination. So take your time with it. We start from a push-up style position. There is a step as if we were doing like almost like a Spider-Man lunge, that kind of thing. And then the other leg swings right through. You'll notice that Em's going to kind of lightly tap her hip to the ground at the front there. So she knows she's hitting that full front position. And then we just put it in reverse right to the back again. So a lot of flexibility, a lot of control in this movement. It's really quite challenging. 10 more seconds. It's going to take some shoulder stability too. You can see that we're resting just on one hand at one point there, so you really have to control that, resting. So double unders are next. Three, 2, 1, and go. So not too much different in the way of technique to a single under to a double under. We just generally will jump that little bit higher and be a little bit more aggressive with the hands. And that's kind of the challenge of this, is that the jump actually needs to be slower, okay, whereas the hands need to be faster. And that's where the coordination piece comes in, the timing piece. But all the rest of like the body position is pretty much the same. Feet are nice and close, everything's nice and upright. And elbows are kind of tied in nice and close there. 3, 2, and resting. All right, from here we're gonna go to the skull crushers. So grabbing our dumbbell or whatever weighted object you have at home there. And you can do this standing or lying. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So main thing we want to think about this, guys, obviously safety is always the first thing we check in, and that is that dumbbell is going to come close to the top of our head. So it's really important that you're picking the right weight, doing this at a nice controlled tempo. The other stations are pretty good to kind of, you can push that speed and that intensity. This one, let's take it a little bit slower just so you can keep that nice control. And the main thing we want to see is a nice deep bend in the elbow. So I'm looking for straight at the top and then 90 degrees or possibly even deeper if I can get down there without hitting my head. Okay, I've got 5 more seconds. And resting. All right, so that's 1 full cycle through. Come back around to our cardio of choice. 3, 2, 1, and go. So a couple other options, guys, if you don't want to do the plate ground overhead, things like jumping jacks, running, mountain climbers, stuff like that. Box jumps is good. Just looking for straightforward stuff that's really good at getting the heart rate up. Something you can cycle reasonably quick. Now the top position here, Em's getting a nice sort of locked out head through, nice stack position at the end there. And you can see the angle of the plate is going to change. So she's going to go thumbs down with it kind of vertical at the bottom, but it is going to be flat at the top. So it's like she's going knuckles through the roof at the top, punching through, and that will get a nice lockout position. And resting. Okay, moving to the sit-throughs. Three, 2, 1, and go for it. So we want to see nice active shoulders throughout the whole movement here, guys. If you ever feel like you're kind of sinking or slouching into it, try to be active in pushing the ground away, keeping the body nice and suspended. But take your time. If you haven't done this much, it does take a fair bit of balance, especially that moment where we pull the leg from the back through to the front or going from the front back to the start position. You're only going to be on 2 points of contact. We've got 10 more seconds. And resting. All right, so we move from the sit-throughs to the double unders now. Going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So if you don't happen to have double unders, guys, it's something that you really struggle with, I'd still say try and have a decent crack at it, right? It's 45 seconds either way, so you will get saved by the bell eventually. It's worth just trying and seeing if you can figure the movement out, getting the timing with the jump and the hands. There's always the backup plan to go to single unders if we need to, but you may as well, when we're in a situation where we're gonna move from the double unders eventually, you may as well have a run at it and see if you can get it figured out. And resting. So going to skull crushers next. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So this is the standing version now, guys. Obviously she did the laying one before. This is upright. So this one will have kind of the added challenge of a little bit more sort of shoulder mobility because we're now tending to go kind of behind the head rather than in front of it. And we're also going to be quite stable through that midsection. If we've got a heavy enough weight, it's going to feel like it's going to try and pull you over the back. So abs are going to play a big part with this, as well as the glutes to kind of stabilize that whole midsection. So 15 more seconds. So as I said before, we're looking for a really deep bend in the elbow and then a full lockout at the top. and a nice smooth controlled tempo. So I would say sort of 2 seconds down, 2 seconds up. And if you want to put pauses along the way there at top and bottom, you can do that too. Okay, so it's 2 full cycles. We've got 1 more to go. We're back on this plate ground overhead. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So one thing that Em does really well with this movement is just keeping those shins nice and vertical, right? She's not allowing the knees to kind of collapse or pitch forward, losing hamstring tension. She's keeping the hips wound back, knees pushed out. So she's finding all that really secure sort of musculature to work off of, rather than just kind of dumping into the bottom there and collapsing everything in. That way it becomes a nice sort of almost like just a stretch reflex like we would do for a kettlebell swing or something like that. She gets that nice momentum travel right up to the top. 3, 2, 1. All right, so that is the cardio station done. We've just got 3 to go now. So sit-throughs is going to be next. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So important that when you step the foot up to that position there, that we step wide enough to give ourselves enough of a window to get that leg through, right? The more flexible you are, obviously the closer in you can step. If you're doing this for the first time, step real wide, create a nice big window, and that way you can get that leg through a little bit more easily. 3, 2, 1. So that's the sit-throughs finished. We've got double unders and skull crushers, and then we are finished with this move workout. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So I like that Em's got her eyes nice and level. She's just looking straight ahead. She's not moving her head or looking around the room, getting distracted. She's keeping herself dialed into what she's doing. It's going to give her the best chance to have some nice long stretches of reps. Three, 2, 1. So resting. We've got one last one. That's going to be those skull crushers one last time. I'm going to go back to this lying version. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So final round. If you notice, Em's position at the top there is mostly pointing up at the roof, but it's actually just coming back. So it's pointing sort of more towards the above her head sort of thing, right? And what that does is it's going to keep tension on the muscles as we work through. If I go completely straight to the roof, I have the ability to lock in and almost rest there. So if I bring that arm back that little bit, that'll just keep that tension wound up the whole time and really work those muscles that extra little bit. Last couple of reps, 5 seconds. And done. Alrighty, that is the move workout finished. We are going to check out some cool down stretches next. Alrighty guys, so just to finish things off now, we're going to go through a little bit of mobility. The first drill we're going to do is very similar to a Samson stretch, only difference is we're going to kind of switch up the arm position a little bit, so it's going to hit those triceps a little bit more. So lunge position, I'm going to take her right arm over the top, so we'll switch those hands around for me, that's it. So grabbing the same side as the knee that's on the ground, we're going to do this for 45 seconds each side. So a couple of different spots are going to feel the stretch here. One is going to be that right sort of thigh up through the hip. So if you can kind of drive the hips forward a little bit, even lean over just slightly. The other one is going to be sort of tricep, rear shoulder, lat, that whole sort of side section there at the back of the arm and the top of the arm. We want to get that arm into as deep a bend as we can behind us. So if you can get your hand sort of between your shoulder blades and then wind that over, that's ideally what we're after. So typically with a Samson, we would go arms straight. We're just changing this one up to have that extra little bit of tricep stretch in there. So 5 more seconds. And switching. Now, really good idea, guys. We're on a gym.